Hey guys, Fletch the Football Observer here, and today's Fletch Talks video is going to centre around Newcastle confirming that Rafa Benitez will not be renewing his contract at St James's Park, and as a result will be leaving the Magpies when his contract runs out at the end of the week. Benitez's contract runs out on the 30th of June, and whilst Newcastle's owners have been attempting to negotiate this takeover deal with a Dubai-based group attempting to take Newcastle off of their hands, they've also been attempting to renegotiate the contract of their current manager. But yesterday, the club broke the news that negotiations had failed, an agreement couldn't be created, and the Spaniard will indeed be leaving St James's Park at the end of the season. The 59-year-old was appointed Newcastle manager in March of 2016, where his initial task was to save Newcastle from relegation. Despite a great effort from him and his squad, Benitez and Newcastle were in fact relegated down to the Championship, but there was enough of a showing from the entire project as a whole to suggest that Benitez could rebuild Newcastle as best he could, and he would be the man to make Newcastle bounce back to England's top tier division instantly, which was something that he managed to achieve. After confirming that he would be staying on as Magpies manager, Benitez led Newcastle into the 2016-17 season in the Championship and managed to lead Newcastle to the Championship title, and as a result, an immediate return to the Premier League. The 17-18 season was all about Newcastle maintaining their Premier League status, which they managed to achieve. Benitez was praised heavily for keeping Newcastle out of the relegation zone despite not having the financial backing of the other teams around them, and for having a squad which many fans and pundits suggested on paper wasn't of Premier League material. Going into the summer, the story of a lack of investment into the Newcastle squad continued, and once again many suggested that because of everyone else around Newcastle was strengthening, the Magpies could be in serious danger of being relegated once again to the Championship for the forthcoming 18-19 season. Fears of a relegation scrap escalated when Newcastle failed to record a single victory in their first 10 league games, but as soon as they managed to pick up that first win, Newcastle went on to have a steady season, putting in some good displays and picking up important points to save their season and end up finishing in 13th position. Benitez had done it once again. He somehow managed to save Newcastle from relegation and maintain their Premier League status. Following the end of the current season and going into the summer though, Newcastle's future was completely covered in mystery and uncertainty. The Dubai-based group looking set to take over Newcastle are responsible for that. The news surfaced after the season had ended, but things have quietened down over the past few weeks, and there's very little in terms of clarity over how the takeover deal is going as to how it's going to shape Newcastle's summer or immediate future. Add on top of that the uncertainty of the manager's position. As I previously mentioned, Benitez's contract is set to be up at the end of June, and reports have suggested Newcastle had attempted to renegotiate a contract extension for their 59-year-old, but now it's become clear that an agreement couldn't be found and that they will be going their separate ways going into July. When Benitez came to Newcastle back in 2016, it was seen as an incredible move by the Magpies, given the position they were in, of course, where relegation seemed very likely to happen. Obtaining the services of a Champions League winning manager, a manager who's been to clubs like Valencia, Liverpool, Inter Milan, Chelsea and Napoli, and has won many trophies with all of them clubs, became the manager of a club seemingly bound for the Championship. And even when they did go down, he still stayed on with the club. I honestly don't think any other manager around at that time, within reason of course, would have brought Newcastle back up to the Premier League at the first time of asking, and then gone on to keep them in that league for the next couple of seasons beyond that. In my opinion, he's a passionate manager who puts everything he has into his work and has loved every club he's been at. He conducts himself in a clear, calm and cool and respectable way, and for the job he's done at Newcastle, this news obviously hasn't gone down well with the majority of the Magpies fan base, with the anger and frustration being directed at the owners and people that conduct the club's off the pitch business over how they allowed a manager with an impressive resume and a man who's a true gent and has stuck with the club that he's grown to love walk away. And from my point of view, to be just tossed aside like this after everything he's done for the club, because he could have easily walked away at any point during the 3 years he spent at the club, even when they got relegated to the Championship, is a disgusting thing for the club to do. And now we know that Benitez's future lies away from St James's Park. The rumour mill will continue to spin on both his future and Newcastle's potential future manager. Benitez in the past few weeks, in preparation for the possibility that he would leave Newcastle, has been linked with a couple of jobs in particular. The first is the vacant Chelsea managerial role, although a return to Stamford Bridge looks increasingly unlikely, given how the fans of the Blues didn't take too kindly to his arrival the first time around. And I think because of that, Benitez doesn't have too fond memories of his time with Chelsea, despite helping them reach a third place finish in the Premier League and a Europa League trophy. The second reported job offer lies in China. Reportedly, Dalian Yifang of the Chinese Super League are rumoured to be interested in taking Benitez on as their manager and are willing to offer a £12 million a year contract in order to make it happen. Going to China for big money has become a trend for players in recent years, and now it seems China are looking to swoop in for managers too. Personally, I don't think Benitez would enjoy the standard of football out there, but having said that, it would be an altogether different challenge for him. It's said to be a nice country to live in, and for £12 million a year, given that his age is 59, he could easily go all out there for a couple of years and retire from management beyond that point if he wanted to, with a nice payday of the past couple of years. I personally would like to see him stay in Europe. He has a lot to offer a number of clubs that are either close to being contenders for the top trophies or are building towards that particular goal. And along with him being a very likeable manager that is well respected, it would be a shame for the top level of football to lose a gentleman of the game and a manager with his history. But having said that, with the way he's been treated by the people at the top of Newcastle, I wouldn't blame him whatsoever if he went to China, with the huge money on offer being a huge reason for his decision. As for his successor at Newcastle, well, the Magpies will need to get this decision absolutely right. Fans took Benitez to their hearts for what he did during his 3-year stay at the club, so you can imagine that they haven't exactly taken this news that he will be leaving well at all. But with how they must move on, the powers that be at Newcastle must get their next managerial appointment absolutely spot on. I think most of who comes in will rely on whether or not this takeover deal gets confirmed, and until it does, I can't see many managers risking taking this job on at all because of the uncertainty. If it does get over the line and the new chapter at Newcastle does firmly begin at St James's Park, then Jose Mourinho's name has already been mentioned and he's reportedly open to taking on that particular job. As of right now though, another former Chelsea manager has also been named in Avram Grant. He's also one of the front runners. But again, it's all speculation right now, as the lack of clarity regarding the club's off-the-pitch future remains very much in the air. But the one thing that we do know is that come July the 1st, Rafa Benitez will no longer be in charge as manager of Newcastle United. And that wraps up this video on Rafa Benitez, who will be leaving Newcastle United when his contract expires with the club at the end of the month. I want to know your thoughts and opinions on this subject though, so what do you think? Are Newcastle wrong for not doing enough to keep Benitez at the club? Have they done the right thing in letting him leave? Who would you like to see succeed him at Newcastle? And where do you think Rafa will end up next? I'd love to read your thoughts and opinions on this subject in the comment section below. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way out, guys, if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things will be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch, the Football Observer. This has been another Fletch Talks video. And I will see and speak with you all again soon in another video.